All right, good morning, everybody. Fish and Golf says, good Fat Tuesday to you. Is it Fat Tuesday already? Man, that might have snuck up on me. But we're gonna do us a show. I hope you got your hot cup of coffee, and let's hit that intro. Okay, this morning, guys, there's a couple of things in the news that I'd like to talk about a little bit. Disturbing trend we'll discuss a little bit, but first, and man, I wish Sergeant Major was already on here. I don't see him yet though, but I see Uncle Steve, so you'll appreciate this, Uncle Steve. I've got I still have Pop and Granny's old leather couch, and it's I've got it in my basement, and that's been my napping couch for a couple of years now. And I had a motor controlled reclining theater chair set of 3 down here, but it was an old one that my little brother found at a thrift shop, and we got a good deal on. It was probably the one that I had. It was probably a $5,000 or $6,000 couch when it was new, and we bought it from a thrift store for like $40. It was three individual pieces. But I'm a big dude. I'm rough on some furniture. Good. There's Sergeant Major. So let me back up just a little bit, Dad. I was saying, I've still got Pop and Granny's couch in my basement here, but I'm a big dude, and that's an old couch, and it is giving up on me. And there's something I've been wanting to do. And while we're trying to move, I've been putting it off. My intent had been to put it off until we got the new house. But this couch is just giving up on me, and I gotta have a spot that I can take a nap. And I've wanted to get one of those big, over the top, ridiculous, but apparently amazing heated full body massage chairs, and that son of a bitch is going to be here somewhere between tomorrow and next Thursday, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm sorry, somewhere between day after tomorrow and the following Thursday, sometime in the next week or so, I'll have my new toy in here, and I am super excited about that. Now, in other news, tomorrow morning we're heading down to the farm, so I may or may not do a show before we load everybody up and head down to the farm. We've got enough bodies here right now that we're gonna end up having to take 2 vehicles, so I may, kiss the wife and kids and get them down the road, do the show, and then follow right after. But if y'all don't see me live tomorrow morning, it's because we already loaded up, and I'm driving down to see Ma and Granddad. So we'll see how that works out. Now, the news. I don't know how many of you watched the Super Bowl. I didn't. The last time I watched the Super Bowl, the Falcons were way ahead. obviously about to win an unlosable game, and I had to go to the bathroom. And when I came back, I went upstairs, used the bathroom, got some more coffee because I still had work to do that night. Came back, and somehow they had lost the unlosable game, and that was that was the last time I watched the Super Bowl. To be fair, I'm not a big sports guy. That was also the first time I had watched the Super Bowl, like actually sat down and watched the Super Bowl in probably 15 or 20 years, because it's just not my thing, especially as they've gone woker and woker and woker. I want to talk a little bit though about the whole Taylor Swift thing. And there's a reason I want to talk about it. I'm not just trying to jump on a bandwagon with the current trend. I do that sometimes, but in this particular case, I want to clear some things up. Because there's been all this stuff about, it's a psyop. And here's the theory. The theory is that, and this is the more extreme side of the theory, but the more extreme side of the theory is that some branch of the administration, of the Biden campaign, of the government, the corrupt and entrenched FBI, DOJ, et cetera, have made a deal, or had made a deal, with Taylor Swift, what's his name, Tony Kels, something Kels, the football star that she's dating, and that the game was going to be rigged. And that the whole thing was about this narrative where, you've got Taylor Swift, and a whole bunch of younger voters are going to watch the Super Bowl so they can see Taylor, so they can see Tay. And there's going to be a whole moment where, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and Waller says used to be a Swiftie, but she's old. Like, how is an old cute girl pop star popular again? Actually, that's part of this conversation. But it's a psyop. And it's all about getting these young voters to watch the Super Bowl, and then they have this big moment where Kelsey proposes to Taylor Swift on the field after scoring the winning touchdown. And then it doesn't quite go that way. Right? As I understand it, he didn't actually propose to her on the football field. He didn't get the winning touchdown. The Chiefs did win. They did win, apparently. Like I said, I didn't watch the game, so any reference to that is stuff that I'm picking up third hand. Apparently, the game was a bit of a nail-biter back and forth, and they actually cut to Taylor Swift in the stands a couple of times to show her literally biting her nails because, the tension, the suspense. And the Chiefs came back from behind and won the game. And then the Joe Biden's official, not the POTUS, not the President of the United States account, but the actual Joe Biden official Twitter account, the X account, tweeted out this bizarre Dark Brandon image. And for you old guys that are out of touch, the Dark Brandon is the meme with here it is. So they tweeted this out, just like we drew it up, right after the Super Bowl was over, right? Like they're coming out and claiming credit for the Super Bowl going down. And obviously Joe Biden didn't tweet this out. Right? Joe Biden can't wipe his own ass, let alone run his Twitter account. We know that based on Prosecutor Herr's findings of his mental incompetence and therewith inability to stand trial for his obvious and serious crimes. I was watching Tim Pool talk about this, and Tim Pool was explaining this isn't a psyop, but there's probably a PR campaign. And honestly, when I heard him say that, I'm sitting here and I just wanted to scream, What the fuck do you think a psyop is, Tim? It's a PR campaign? That's what a psyop is. The only difference, the only serviceable practical difference between what we call a PR campaign or a public relations campaign and a PSYOP or psychological operation, the only practical distinction between those two things is who's doing it and who's the target, right? A PSYOP is, in theory, a military or clandestine services operation to have a psychological effect on an enemy target. Whereas a public relations campaign is an activity conducted by a private or commercial organization with the objective of having a psychological effect on a friendly populace, right? So you think of a PR campaign as a celebrity convincing fans to agree with them on something, whether that's to agree with them on a political position or to agree with them on a brand purchasing preference or to agree with them on attempting to make changes in their life based on, you know, some health trend, some social trend, some fashion trend, et cetera, et cetera. They're the same thing. I've often said I was real good at selling insurance because identifying a target, identifying the weaknesses of that target, and then executing on that actionable intelligence, selling insurance to clients is not a whole lot different than hunting terrorists. It's just at the very end, you have the question of whether you're pulling a trigger or signing a contract. Up until that, it is the same process. Identify the target, establish the pattern of life, identify the individual weaknesses. That would be problem areas and sales points for the sales guy. But identify weaknesses, execute the target on the actionable intelligence. It's not hard, right? The PSYOP versus the PR campaign, same kind of deal. Now, Waller's right. He says Tay-Tay is not actually bringing a lot of younger voters. The numbers on that are crystal clear. The last time that something like this was touted, there wasn't even a claim that they had attempted to conduct a psychological operation in this way. But they came out and said that Taylor Swift had gotten a lot of people to register to vote. She really didn't. Okay, if you're looking at the numbers, she's got some almost 3 million followers or something on Twitter, and like 8,000 of them, signed up to vote. Those are abysmal closing records. Like, not for nothing, if you're on my sales team and you come to me with, hey, I made 3 million contacts and sold 8,000 widgets, I'm going to tell you, you don't get fucking coffee because coffee is for closers. Shit sack. Hawkeye's jumping in with us, says, good morning. Are we talking the Super Bowl PSYOP? You don't believe in that? No. Yes, we're talking the Super Bowl PSYOP, and I do believe there's a PSYOP there, and I'm working up to why you guys should be paying attention to the PSYOP there. Because what's really happening there is that the Taylor Swift-Kelsey thing, there is no real credible evidence that there was external involvement there where that's an actual PSYOP in and of itself. Now, that narrow distinction between a PSYOP and a PR campaign, it's very possible that some PR company put it in their heads for Kelsey and Taylor that, hey, you two could both build your brands off of this little narrative drama that we've got building here. And whether or not the two of them became romantically entangled organically or not is functionally irrelevant to the use of it. Here's where there was an actual psyop related to this. There were not a bunch of right-wing nutjobs claiming that this was a psyop. There were a bunch of left-wing yellow rag journalists, so-called journalists, or a bunch of yellow rag media claiming that a bunch of right-wing nutjobs think that the Taylor Swift-Kelsey romance is a psyop. The result is whether that as conservatives with children, whether or not you believed that there was a psyop, whether or not you bought the bait, whether or not you started talking about Taylor Swift and what a terrible person she is because she's a never Trumper and she's pro Biden. You may have never even been aware that someone is saying that people like you believe those things to be true. But your teenage daughter has been told that you believe that. Your teenage daughter, who loves Taylor Swift, has been told that her stupid old racist white daddy hates Tay-Tay. And that's just one more reason that you shouldn't ever listen to anything he says to you. That's just one more reason that you should ignore your daddy's advice, steal his money, and cut your titties off. That's where the real psyop happened. Right? And it may even be that the original nut job conspiracy theory formed organically. We may never know. You know, it's kind of like the habit of the press to what we call lead laundering, right? Or I'm sorry, source laundering, where some shitty little magazine somewhere publishes an outrageous story, and then a major publication comes back, publishes a similar story, publishes the same story basically, and cites the little shitty rag that nobody ever heard of. And then the little shitty rag goes back and stealth edits their post online to cite back to the major publication. And then you get a bunch of other major publications and they all cite back to each other. So that as soon as the narrative is broken and you see, oh, well, you actually lied about the Covington kids, they can go and lie and say, oh, well, we never reported that Nick Sandman made racist claims. We reported that they said that he made racist claims, right? And then you go from A to B to C, each individual article, each individual publication says, no, we didn't say he made X, Y, and Z claim. We said that they said that he made those claims. That's a fact, right? It is a fact that the other reporter, whether or not he was lying, he reported X. That he was lying is not relevant to whether or not his having lied happened. And that makes our reporting, even if the base facts are wrong, correct, because we didn't report on the fact claims. We reported on the making of the claim of the fact claim. Okay, so if I've said all that in the right order, then I should have untied that knot for you. And the thing that you need to get around to is whenever we're looking at something like this, because this Taylor Swift-Kelsey psyop narrative theory bullshit is not the first time they've tried to pull this gag, right? It's not the first time that they've tried to launder illegitimate intellectual material into the social consciousness, into the zeitgeist, and corrupt your children by telling them that your parents fit XYZ demographic and ergo they believe XYZ narrative claim which means that they're evil white supremacists. And you should hate them and probably want to kill them. That's what they do. That's what the enemy does. Case in point, over the last about year and a half to 2 years, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we seem to be way down on mass shootings. They're just not popping up in the news the way they used to. Let me throw a little bit of truth at you. For the period from the beginning of 2000 to recent memory, there has been this building narrative and this accelerating claim that there have been massive increases in the number of mass shootings and school shootings that have happened. But the facts just don't bear it out. The statistical facts on that matter are that those numbers have remained relatively flat and in fact decreased over time for quite a while. What has happened that is different is, beginning with Columbine especially, what used to be local news is always national news because it's narratively useful. And part of that narrative has consistently been that whenever there's a school shooter, there's some kind of right-wing nut job, some kind of white supremacist variant. But of course, we had a manifesto from the Columbine shooters, right? And the trenchcoat mafia were essentially communist nihilists. They believed that reality was meaningless, that existence was meaningless, and that the best thing that they can do is to end that. Because they were nihilists. And communism is essentially built in nihilism, right? What you can do individually has no value unless you can couple that into cooperation with other people. And then it turns out that also, by that psychological and philosophical standard, has no value. Nietzsche and Kierkegaard referred to it as the annihilating. No, I'm sorry. Wittgenstein referred to it as the annihilating nothing, the nothing that makes things less valuable, the nothinging. Right. Think of it as remember the evil entity, the evil theoretical boogeyman entity from the Never-Ending Story, right? It was the nothing. And guys, if you haven't watched the Never-Ending Story recently, go back and watch that. That film, it's a wonderful children's film. I still get a little misty every time I see the rock giants say, "They look like big, strong hands," right? Every time the rock biter is just brokenhearted because he couldn't hold on to his friends. But the message, the story in that film, the magical world is disappearing because children no longer read books. The nothing is the metaphoric representation of the nihilistic result of a consumptive popular culture that draws children away from the habit of reading and the habit of learning and dilutes their minds with thoughtless and unintelligible pop culture bullshit. Like that's the story. Like that the enemy that the young boy in the Never-Ending Story is fighting is ignorance and illiteracy. It's incredibly powerful piece of media, let's face it, it's a film, but film is literature. That's kind of the ironic twist there. But in all fairness, just because a thing is literature doesn't mean it's valuable literature. I mean, let's not forget Karl Marx, in fact, produced what is perhaps ironically referred to also as literature. Now, that said, the recent apparent drop in mass shootings, there has been some taper off, but largely what's happened is they've stopped reporting on it. And they've stopped reporting on it for one primary reason. The ideology of the shooters is being exposed more and more often, and more inignorably. And we had several toward the end of the Trump administration and the beginning of the Biden administration where they left manifestos where they were clearly left-wing nut jobs. Like, clearly left-wing nut jobs. And we'd hear about the shooting, and then we'd hear about the manifesto, and then it would disappear. Well, I don't know if you guys heard or not, but there was another shooting, another attack. What the hell? What? I just went back to the article and it just says ad removed. What the hell? There's the article. I've got this one from the Post Millennial about the shooting. Was this yesterday or day before? Damn it. Let me see, where's the date? Okay. Yeah, so the article's from yesterday. So this happened on Sunday. I'm going to go back to the reader mode because all these photos are just, yeah. So, breaking, Joel Osteen church shooter identified as Janessa Moreno, also went by Jeffrey, local media. So, this story is going to disappear from the headlines real quick. It's amazing. It's amazing if you've even heard of it yet. Sergeant Major says she shot her own son. Yeah, so he shot his own son. This is a trans female. So, and it's not clear whether or not he's actually had himself castrated yet. But you're not going to hear the story. You're not going to hear the story very much, precisely because this is a pro-Hamas, free Palestine transgender who attacked a church. The Fit Life says it's a woman who calls herself male. I'm actually not sure about that. Also went by Jeffrey. Reports indicated the shooter was female, but Moreno may have been male. See, it gets confusing. So here's what I do know. This is not a right-wing nut job. Okay. Thank you, Danny. You know, Danny and Alex do a great show, and I almost never get to catch it while they're live because I'm old. I go to bed. Actually, that's not even fair. I go to bed early because most nights I snuggle my 4-year-old to get her to go to sleep at a reasonable hour so she can get up for education in the morning. And speaking of school, Danny says she's got to get to class. Thanks for watching this morning, Sunshine. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow, I hope. Have fun in school. But, and I'm not even going to go into this story a great deal. This is not the first one. It just happens that just the other day, Steven Crowder put this out. No, that's the other one. Put this out with regard to the Chippewa Falls response. So, Chippewa Falls is a school where they identified somebody who intended to become a shooter, found him with found him with a manifesto. The manifesto was incredibly explicit, mentioned the anarchist cookbook, specific plans, talked about making improvised explosive devices and napalm and that kind of thing, named specific targeting groups, listed a planned date of execution and a backup date of execution, had backup plans. And the school refused to inform the parents. Now, it got dealt with somehow. Go check out Crowder's reporting on this. But there we go. Where's the rest of the... It just says Chippewa Falls School District doubled down on its decision not to tell the parents after we leaked the police report. We have major updates. So do go and, if you get a chance, go watch the video that Crowder put out about Chippewa Falls. But I bring it up to make this point. Basically, the whole LGBT movement, right? You probably know some gay people who are relatively normal, well-adjusted, intelligent, reasonable people who are not super politically active. So I want to be clear about this. When I'm talking about the LGBT movement, I am talking about the politically active organizational LGBT. Now, I've explained this before. The nice normal gay couple you know that doesn't get involved in all the crazy far leftist we're coming for your kids political propaganda and dogmatic stuff. You know, be nice, be polite with them. But it might be time to have the conversation with them. Look, these people are out in your name, making the claim that you support everything that they stand for, pushing radical, psychotic, anti-human ideologies, and breeding terrorists. And if you're, if you have an identity that belongs to the identity block and are not somebody who's politically active as part of the identity block, well, you're watching it happen. You're essentially supporting and consenting to it by not fighting it. Now, that makes you a victim. That makes you a victim of the LGBTQ political group. But it makes you a compliant victim. It makes you a victim that has surrendered to your suffering. I don't want to blame the victim. But when you identify a weakness, when you identify a potential point of pain, it is practical and intelligent to shore that point up. Right? You know, if a woman is raped, it's absolutely the rapist's fault. 100%. That doesn't mean that it was a good idea to walk down the dark alley. That doesn't mean it was a good idea to be shit-faced drunk in the short skirt in the bad part of town. And it doesn't mean that you were somehow wrong, crooked, evil, etc. to take those self-defense classes before. Right? When the shoe gets on the other foot, you're not wearing a skirt that your butt's hanging out of. You're not shit-faced drunk. You're not on the wrong side of town. You did take self-defense classes. You are carrying a firearm. A rapist still approaches you in a vulnerable target position, and you send him to hell with a gaping, sucking chest wound. we're not talking about blaming the victim. We're talking about armoring them against the inevitable slings and arrows of an evil and tyrannical world. Right? When you see a situation like that and say, oh, well, she shouldn't have been walking down the alley like that. What you're saying is not, it's her fault she was raped. What you're saying is, holy shit, a horrible thing just happened. What can we tell other people to keep that horrible thing from happening to them? And that's what you can tell them. Arm yourself, train yourself, take reasonable precautions, choose better, make better life choices. And I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it there, but I'm going to deal with this comment real quick. An existing person. Okay, I see. I was having a little bit of trouble with that name without the appropriate spaces in it, but I understand the lack of that use. So an existing person says, this is slightly off topic, but I have a topic I'd love to discuss to hear your side of the story. Please, because an existing person, let me tell you this. I do this show live every morning at 7:30 for give or take a half an hour until I'm tired of talking. And live is hard mode. I can talk. I can just sit here and run my mouth with or without fuck bombs for a half an hour easy on any given topic, almost without exception. The hardest part about doing this show for a half an hour every morning, my man, is I have to come up with something to talk about every morning. I spend usually at least an hour, more commonly 2 to 3 hours, reading the news and deciding what I want to talk about this morning, and having to take into account what do I think my audience is going to be interested in, what do I care enough to talk about, what is trending high enough to try and chase some extra views, and where's the happy medium between all those things. So if you've got a topic to discuss, and this goes for every one of y'all, yes, please drop it in the comments here. Make a comment under the show on Twitter, on Rumble, on YouTube, anywhere that you like, share, and subscribe, and watch the show daily. Leave me messages, leave me comments. I will look for them, and to the greatest of my ability, I will try and address those topics that you guys want me to talk about. I'm super happy to do that, because for one, if I start my morning off with a topic that I want to discuss today, which is to say, with one of your suggestions as the topic that I want to discuss today, I don't have to read all the news to find something I want to talk about. I know what I want to talk about, and I have to go read enough of the news to know what I want to say, what position I want to take on that particular topic. So yeah, fire away. Give me your suggestion, and I'll write it down on the sticky note right here. And if nothing else comes up for me to cover for tomorrow, it might be tomorrow's topic. But do go ahead and drop that comment for me, an existing person. I hope you like, share, and subscribe on Twitch, Twitter, X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. I really got to learn the names of the other 5 or 6 that I'm on. Kurochima, 한국 사람들이 미안합니다. 지만 네가 비디오 플랫폼은 더 필요하지 않아요. 미안해. So, if you've got a good idea, a good topic to cover, do let me know. And in the meantime, thanks for watching this morning, guys. Oh, you want my thoughts on immigration? Okay. Okay, so an existing person. That's fine. The crack shot ass Navajo? No, Korean. 미안합니다. So an existing person. Go check out the channel. I would suggest either on Rumble or YouTube for this. go and check out the channel. We have spent a lot of time talking about immigration, not just as a broad topic. We've done that as well, but we've spent many episodes talking about specific policy maneuvers, tactical maneuvers, strategic decisions, etc. We spent a lot of time on this show talking about immigration. And it is a topic that is important enough that we will cover it again and again, especially this year being an election year in which immigration is a major issue that has a lot of people really concerned. We are going to be covering that quite a bit this year. An existing person says, I just personally want to see if you think my situation is justified. You know, may I share my story? I tell you what, hold on a minute. Let me check. Let me double check my calendar this morning. I've got to be in Fayetteville in about 2.5 hours. So go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we'll talk about it for a minute. I'll hang out for another 15 minutes or so. If you go ahead and get your comment in, and we'll take a look at it, and then maybe depending on what that story is, maybe we can talk about it some more tomorrow or in a later episode. And like I said at the beginning of the show this morning, we probably be live tomorrow, but okay. I tell you what, an existing person. Here's what I'm gonna do for you. So we go live every morning at 7:30. Okay. Every weekday morning. I don't do the show on Saturday and Sunday. You pop in at 7:30 at the beginning of the show any given morning, and go ahead and drop your comment, or go ahead and drop it right now so I can see what it is. And if you'll go find the Brushfire Mind on X and start communicating with me there, right? Then we'll see what we can do. We'll see what your story is and what we can do to have a conversation about it. An existing person says, I'm actually Asian Australian and I have a partner in the US. I came through the airport and they thought I was Mexican.
Unknown caller.
And yep, that unknown caller is a phone call that I have to take. So thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.